Welcome to Screw the Commute, the entrepreneurial podcast dedicated to getting you out of the car and into the money. With your host, lifelong entrepreneur and multimillionaire, Tom Antion.
Hey everybody, it's Tom here with episode 126 of Screw the Commute podcast. I got here a great guy. His name is Travis Ketchum. And this guy is responsible for over 29 million contest entries, and probably more than that by now. So we've got kind of the king of contests here today, but he's got another really great invention he's going to talk to you about a little bit later. All right, our last episode was Heather Parody, and I really apologize to her. I called her Parady on the show. It's Parody. I just met her, and I have to say she's a very inspiring young woman who came from humble beginnings and really made something out of herself. Very inspiring. So listen to that when you get a chance, episode 125. Now, our youth program is in full swing. We're looking for young people that are doing entrepreneurial things. And when I say young, that's maybe up to about the early 20s. If they're older than that, they might be a candidate for our regular podcast. So if you know anyone, they can get in touch with me at orders@antion.com, and you can, of course, see that in the show notes. All right, I've got a big freebie to thank you for listening to this podcast. It's a $27 ebook called How to Automate Your Business. And just one of the tips in this ebook has saved me over 7 million keystrokes, and that's we figured that out a couple years ago, so it's probably at least 7.5 million by now. And I also have another little gift there for you that I'll surprise you with when you go over to screwthecommute.com/automate free. Screwthecommute.com/automate free. Now, our podcast app is in the iTunes store. You can also go to screwthecommute.com/app, where we have complete instructions on how to use it and all the fancy features, so you can take us with you on the road. And if you get a chance, go over to iTunes and leave us a review and a rating. And, hey, tell just one person about this that wants to start a business or improve the business they have, and I swear they'll thank you for it. So the show is growing rapidly, and we want you to help out your friends with it. All right, let's see. Our on-demand TV channel is up on both Roku TV and Amazon Fire. Our first channel is the Public Speaking channel. We have several others coming: Brutal Self-Defense, Protection Dogs Elite, and various internet marketing channels. So if you have a Roku device or an Amazon Fire Stick, I mean, it's a really good deal. You can get thousands of channels just under your Wi-Fi connection. A lot of people are getting rid of cable, and you can hook up your regular stuff, your Netflix and other things right through the same device. And my channel's probably got $100,000 worth of free public speaking training on there and professional speaking training. So check out the Public Speaking channel on either Roku or Amazon Fire. All right, now let's get to our sponsor, how to get thousands of people to share your content and send you money. I've got a book called Kickstart Viral, and it's extremely inexpensive. It's an 80-page ebook training blueprint, and it thoroughly covers the 3 main techniques we use to go viral. And the guy on today is one of them. It's one of our main ways. And there's nothing hocus pocus about going viral. I mean, the mechanisms are proven and they work, and you'll really be a believer after you hear Travis today. The ebook has lots of screen captures showing examples of all the techniques you can build your thing just exactly like mine, and just put your information in, because I've got all the screen captures in there of what you need to emulate. And anyway, don't buy an overly priced, expensive course on this. You can get this ebook, and then you can use some of Travis's tools and really go crazy with contests and quizzes and things like that. All right, so you can check that out at screwthecommute.com/viral. All right, let's bring on the main event. Travis Ketchum. He's the founder of Campaign Refinery and Contest Domination. That's the tool we use for contests. And he's helped over 20,000 business owners grow and manage profitable email lists. So, Travis, are you ready to screw?
I'm so ready. I'm so ready.
Hey, well, I'm glad we caught up. It's been quite a while, and I know you're doing great things. And so tell everybody what you've been doing, and then we'll take you back a little later to how you got started.
Sure. I mean, I've been real focused since about 2012 on marketing tools that make a dramatic shift in people's email growth and management. So, for a good portion of that since 2012 has been, as you know, contests with Contest Domination for the last 7 years or so. And over the last few years, we've been building a marketing automation tool called Campaign Refinery that is really focused on deliverability and conversion tools to help people really get the most out of their email list.
Hmm. Yeah, and let's talk about the contest a little bit now, because there are some websites and attorneys out there that scare you to death about having a contest, that you might accidentally step over the line and become illegal. Can you expand on that a little bit, of what people need to watch out for?
Sure. Well, I'll preface by saying that I'm not a lawyer or attorney.
Right, right. No, no, we don't even play them on podcasts, right?
Right. Yeah. But that being said, with few exceptions, there's a few states that you want to look out for, and we try to point out some of those pitfalls in our easy rule builder that we include in contest domination.
Oh, that
But
was very helpful, because I was trying to look all over the place to come up with rules, and that really saved a lot of hassle.
right, yeah. So I mean, it was written by a legal entity to begin with, but obviously you can't adapt for everyone's situation. But short of Rhode Island and a few other sort of weird ones where the threshold is really low before you have to start filing for all these other things, the vast majority of states are actually pretty lax on this whole scenario. As long as you're acting in good faith and you're not boasting insane claims, and saying you're going to give away $1 million in cash or whatever, generally speaking, you're okay. I think what people really kind of misunderstand is most contests and giveaways don't require paid entry. That's the biggest thing that people generally want to look out for, because paid entry is considered really a paid lottery.
Right.
And I have a sneaking suspicion that that's illegal in many states because it's a revenue system
Right.
for
Exactly.
those different entities, which is why they don't want any competition, for the different lotteries and whatnot, paid lotteries. But when it's, a game of chance, a game of skill, all those kind of things, you're generally pretty good on that around the world for the most part, where essentially someone is just entering their information for a chance to win. And then the skill component can either be answering, solving a math problem or doing additional questions like that. And then there's also the skill and chance of referring your friends to get more entries. So a lot of those kind of tick the boxes for what most entities are looking for to be a valid contest that you're allowed to run pretty freely.
Yeah, so you don't have to be overly afraid of doing this. I mean, the upside to this is far, far bigger. I mean, far times 100 bigger than taking care of these little details to stay kosher, right?
Yeah, I mean, we always encourage everyone to, if you're going to be running a pretty substantial campaign, check with legal counsel. But you can find that for a pretty reasonable price, hundreds to maybe $1,000, you can get someone to review the actual contest rules that we generate for you. Even big companies like Digital Marketer that have attorneys on staff permanently said that they edited half of 2 sentences
Yeah.
to meet their particular needs, as an example. So like I said, we're not attorneys or lawyers, but we'll put you in a really good place to do a lot of that legwork in the upfront, so that even when you do go to a lawyer, they just kind of shrug their shoulders and say, I'd maybe change a few little things for your scenario, but it's 15 minutes of work as opposed to a full day.
Yeah, and I've been selling online for 25 years, since the commercial internet started, and I have never heard of any any lawsuits about this, for people that are just, like I said, in good faith and doing just running a contest. So nothing to worry about there. But tell them a little bit about your platform and how it makes it so easy to do this.
Sure. So the premise behind Contest Domination when it first got started was to focus on the business result of generating more leads. Because you have to remember, back in 2012, there were a lot of contest apps. We were not the first contest app by a mile to come out, but at that time, the overwhelming majority of the marketplace gave equal weight to sharing the contest, not for the end result of the actual referral. And so they would give you, maybe 10 points just for sharing it on Facebook, just for sharing it on Twitter, just for sharing it on LinkedIn or whatever. And what we found is 2 things. One is that was not fair, because if you ask someone to share to a dead Twitter account, you're giving them the same number of points as someone who might share to actually 5 million real followers.
Right.
So it wasn't weighted and incentivized people to actually share it to a real audience. The second thing was with those tools at the time, when they gave you points just for sharing, there was no incentive to leave it up. So you could go share the thing, get the points, and then immediately go delete your tweet, delete your Facebook post. And so it didn't give you the business metrics that you really wanted, which was more leads.
Yeah, so people would game the system. They'd just put it up there and then get rid of it in a hurry.
Sure, and you can't really blame them. You give them the tools and mechanics and make it really obvious on how to, do what they want, but not what the business wants, and that's what users are going to do. And so what we did is we built a system that uses a multi-step process where we ask users to, invite their friends via email, share on different social networks. But the difference is we don't give any points just for the act of sharing. What we do is we give points when a referral occurs.
Mm-hmm.
So by default, someone may get one entry for entering themselves, but for every friend that they can actually get to click through one of their unique links, because they're all unique and they're all tracked, it gives them by default 10 additional entries for every actual successful referral. So, you refer one person, you have 11 times better chance of winning the contest than you had before. And it goes up in increments of 10, or you can edit that if you want. But there's all these different ways that only count when someone actually enters the contest through one of their links.
I can't remember. Is it a mandatory double opt-in, or can it be single opt-in? I can't remember about that.
So we actually give the administrator of the contest the option. So you can either automatically confirm all entries. So as soon as they enter their information and hit submit, they can be, greenlit and then eligible to be chosen as a winner. Or to be, confirmed and eligible to be chosen as a winner, you can require a double opt-in. So you can either let our system, run that confirmation email for you, or we give you a special link that you can put in your autoresponder to be, only when a user clicks this special unique link, we'll then confirm them so that we know that we have the right information and everything's good. We actually find that a huge percentage want to give their real information because you say, hey, we contact you from the information you give us. So make sure you give us your best email, your best phone number, your best address, whatever that may be.
Yeah, because in the industry, when people sign up for freebies and lead magnets and all that stuff, a lot of times they just use a crap email, just to get it, and then they never see any of your stuff again. So you're telling them ahead of time, hey, you'll never get notified if you win if you put a crap email address. All right.
Exactly. You want to be something that they want to be able to monitor, because a lot of times, a lot of our customers choose to say, hey, if you don't respond within 24 hours, we pick someone else. So
yeah, exactly. Puts an urgency on it, and they got to stay on it. So keeping track of this stuff. I mean, when people tried to do this prior to you, oh man, nightmare, right? So your platform keeps track of everything, right?
Yeah, we keep track of everything. We actually have a fraud detection system. So we actually create a fraud probability score for every single lead that enters based on their IP address, which includes what country they're from, have they entered other contests previously. Then we start looking at their downline of referrals. What percentage of those become confirmed? How many of those are actually sending referrals? Are they looking like they're real organic referrals?
Mm-hmm.
How many of them bounce? How many of them pass validation? We come up with this big fraud score, right? And if someone tips that, we actually can automatically ban them from not only your contest, but all future contests that they may try to enter with the same information on Contest Domination. And we have actually pretty sophisticated ways of detecting some pretty wild ways that people have tried to game a system. So you're getting referral tracking, you're getting fraud detection, and then obviously we handle the subscription for actually adding that contact information to whatever email list service or contact management service you're using to then follow up with them with your own emails.
Yeah, and that's all of that stuff. I mean, even one of those things would be virtually impossible for any kind of volume to track and figure out. And I imagine there's been people that created bots to try to beat the contest systems.
For sure, but like I said, we have probably about 1,000 different data points that we actually analyze in real time for every entry. That gives us a pretty accurate fraud score. I mean, you're never going to be 100% bulletproof, and you're never going to have your bans be 100% correct. But over time, we've gotten better and better and better and more reliable about, when it makes that decision automatically. And then we always have the ability to manually review for, hey, this person has, 100 times more referrals than everyone else. We can look at it, and that gives us sort of a new fingerprint on ways that people may be legitimately or illegitimately trying to game the system, and it allows us to then update our system and update our process.
Yeah, and this is why folks, you don't want to get a $2 contest program or a free one and then run a big contest and the 98% of it is fake, and you put all this effort in and you got nothing out of it basically. So how do they check this out? You have a free trial, don't you?
Yeah, there's a 7-day no credit card required trial for Contest Domination. And so if they want to check that out, they can just go to contestdomination.com and put in their information and check out the system, kick the tires, and see what they think.
Yeah, and we'll have in the show notes for them too. So let's take you back a little bit, because you kind of started this with humble beginnings. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, well, I mean, in a lot of respects, if you go back just a little bit further, I mean, when I was in high school and whatnot, I grew up on a goat dairy. So, it's kind of night and day. I've always been interested in technology and marketing and business. And I started my own company, building computers and drop shipping them on eBay and that kind of stuff in high school, actually, which paid for a portion of my college.
Wow.
Went to college, had fun, had a sort of normal enterprise IT desk job. I started out a help desk, ended up building a couple $1 million video system for them that replaced their TV system at the time by the time I left. But it was very much sort of a traditional, hey, let's make some more money. Let's, pay rent and be able to buy some beer and that kind of thing, right? So the normal college priorities.
Oh, that was in college?
Yeah, that was in college.
Okay.
And I did have a brief stint at a normal job, which I know you probably want to touch on in a little bit. But, when Contest Domination started, I didn't really have much of an email list or an audience. And I just had this idea that I needed to build my own email list, because I had been doing client work at that point after I had transitioned out of a normal desk job into a client role, which was basically switching one paycheck for another. And then I realized, hey, the shoemaker's kids have no shoes kind of scenario. I'm building a $1 million a month funnel for my clients, and I have 100 email subscribers on my own list. So I wanted to build my own list as fast as possible and cobble together a few bucks and put some money on a credit card to get a kind of minimal viable product built of a WordPress plugin. And then
you built the plugin.
Yeah, I hired someone to build this plugin for my own use. And then when I went from, 120 whatever subscribers I had at the time to a couple thousand email subscribers in 2 weeks, I thought, oh, wow, okay, I'm really onto something. And that's when I decided to try to put a little bit of a packaging around it so that it could actually be sold. And then that WordPress plugin, once we sold the first 8 to 10,000 copies, I said, okay, now I need to make this a real business. And so I put all of that money and built it all over from scratch as a software as a service, which is what it has then morphed into today.
So actually, the 29 million figure of entries was from after it was software as a service, then, right? Because you couldn't track that as a plugin, could you? Or could you?
Yeah, right. It was real basic, because we didn't have as many analytics and stuff as we'd like, and we're actually well north of that 29 million entries at this point on the SaaS, but that is again just the SaaS and the SaaS.
Everybody is software as a service.
Yeah, sorry, slipped the lingo there.
You're letting your geek slip out there. Right?
yeah, but it's probably not unrealistic to think, based on the few sort of sample sizes we have of the WordPress customers, that we're probably more like somewhere in the range of 80 to 100 million entries.
Exactly right. Yeah. So tell people what they should do. Let's say they have your service, how they start developing a contest.
Yeah, so when you develop a contest, you want to think about, what's a prize that's going to be relevant to what I want to do and sell.
That's really important, right? Because you get a lot of nobodies, or if you just give cash or an iPod or an iPhone or something, people just join and then leave. Really
exactly. Quick. You want a prize that actually disqualifies most of the marketplace.
Right.
People always think about what qualifies them, like what disqualifies the people you don't want. So you want something that your core avatar gets really excited about, and then you want to run it for a limited time.
Hold on. Core avatar that's your best looking customer, folks. We're on Screw the Commute. We call ourselves screwballs because we got a lot of beginners and people building a business. So avatar is just whoever your best customer would be.
Yeah, what do they what do they like? What are their hopes? What are their desires? What are they trying to accomplish? And you think of a prize that will help them do any of those things better, faster, or less expensive. And those are usually sort of a good starting criteria.
Yeah, and
And then
for me, like I did one on public speaking, which most people hate. So I didn't want to give a cash prize or some tablet or iPhone or something, because people would join to win and then they'd disappear and never hear from me again. And then all that effort was wasted. So I gave a prize that was specifically public speaking related. And even though it wasn't as big a contest as some other, better topic, it was very, very targeted. And that's what I wanted.
yeah, I always encourage people to think, a list of 100 people that are salivating for what you want is way better than a list of 1 million people that don't give two craps about what you're selling.
Right.
Like we had this person use our tool that they actually sell tractors, farm equipment,
Mm-hmm.
right? John Deere, tractors, lawnmowers, etc. And they were like, "Oh, we want to get as many people in as we can." And against our advice, they decided to give away Super Bowl tickets and a trip to the Super Bowl,
Oh, geez.
and yada yada, right? And they had an insane number of people enter, and like no results.
Right. Exactly.
And then they ran a second contest that gave away a riding lawnmower, and they had 1/10 of 1% of people enter, and they actually sold product from it.
Exactly. Right.
So it's all about targeting there. And the second component is you want it to be a limited time thing. So the sweet spot tends to be between 2 and 4 weeks. If you let it run too long, people will forget that they actually entered your contest. They're going to lose interest. They're going to fatigue from the offer, and you're going to sort of get diminishing returns. And then it means that your end of contest offer is going to get a lot less eyeballs because people have forgotten or lost interest.
Mm-hmm.
So that 2 to 4 week period is enough time people to stay excited about it, stay competitive, stay engaged, keep referring people, and then you can get them that release of letting them know who won, who didn't, and then making a special offer to convert them to a customer.
Yeah, that ending part is important, because for the people that didn't win, or you even, I thought I have a thing in my book about, I think I got it from you, about even before the contest is over, people will buy stuff. I have a page that says, "Hey, I never win anything. Here's a deal for you." and they bought stuff and didn't even try to win.
Yeah, precisely. Sometimes you can say, "Hey, if you buy this now, you're guaranteed a certain discount, and if you win, I'll just refund your money."
Exactly, right.
Or you can say, if you buy it now, not only if you win will I refund you, but buying it maybe gives you 100 additional entries into the contest.
Right.
So there's different ways that you can game that.
Yeah. Now, do you have training on your site for this?
Oh yeah, we have all kinds of training. There's on contestdomination.com, you're going to see a free ebook called the Contest Funnel Formula, which gives you kind of a infographic workflow and several different case study examples that you can read through to get inspired.
Beautiful. All right, so tell us about this new thing you're working on, and how far along is it?
Yeah, so the new platform is a marketing automation platform. So we think about contests are great for generating leads, but all the magic happens when you sell to those leads, right? Because the two things you really need as far as assets is a list that cares about what you do and the ability to sell to them. And so we had covered the ability to generate and grow a list and improve and compound those results with the contests. But we weren't real happy with a lot of the tools for managing those lists because they lacked in sort of 2 key areas. One of those was deliverability. It felt like they held you hostage on the way that they sent email. And deliverability isn't just did the email bounce or not. Deliverability is did it get to their inbox or not?
Right.
And the second component of that is conversions. What tools can you put in there to give you different levers as a business owners to convince your prospects to buy now? Because if you don't give them a reason to buy now, they'll kick the can, they'll put it off. Like other than your top most raving fans, a lot of people need a reason to buy today.
Yeah, and if you don't get them to buy today, 600 other marketers will get them by tomorrow.
Exactly. So we looked at the landscape, and we were longtime Infusionsoft users, and we were frustrated by they would claim 99% deliverability. It's like
we have a nickname for them that I won't mention.
Probably Confusionsoft.
Yeah, you said it. Yeah.
But we were longtime users, and we really tried to make it work. And the idea at the time when we switched to them was appealing of an all-in-one solution. But the reality of the all-in-one solutions, the people that try to do landing pages and checkout software and marketing automation and all these other things, is that they end up being the jack of all trades and the master of none. And so as we set up these really powerful on paper campaigns, we found that they flat out just didn't work like they were supposed to. Even paying Infusionsoft employees themselves, like, blessed by Infusionsoft, paying them to set up what it should have done, we found that it only worked about 50% of the time. And I don't mean it was only effective 50% of the time. I mean it only worked at all 50% of the time. Ways to add and remove access to an offer, or to do some sort of simplistic automatic segmenting and things that where people could raise their hand and go through this interesting customer journey. It just didn't work. And we were frustrated by the lack of support that either would straight up lie or tell us that it was our fault. Or in one case, which was the straw that broke the camel's back, was we had this system in place that was supposed to do basically a flash 3-day sale that we had paid their employees to help us set up. And it worked less than 50% of the time. And support's answer was, good luck finding anything better. And as a software guy, I'm like, well, okay, I guess I'll have to build something better, right? And so instead of trying to build an all-in-one solution, we decided to be really laser focused on just building the best automation tool that we could. And so what Campaign Refinery does that's different is, for starters, we manage your contacts, but your emails are actually sent by email delivery services. And what that means is that you always have complete control over the sender score and the way that your email is sent. I know this is a little technical probably for some of the audience, but it means that if at any point you aren't happy with the deliverability of your email, it's literally a couple clicks to split test it against any other service, and we can automatically pick the winner for you. Right now, if you're using an email tool and you aren't getting the opens and clicks that you expect, in order to test someone else, that means you have to export all of your contacts, re-import them, rewrite your emails, redo all.
If you even can, because not everybody lets you just import a list, without enormous trouble, and almost everybody loses tons of their percentage of subscribers in the process. So
very true.
And also, I have to say one thing. Whatever you said about Confusionsoft, it was your opinion. I can't, they got this, they got 1,000 lawyers. I don't want them suing me, but yeah. So but I've heard lots of people come to me from all the students I've had that got sucked into it and had similar experiences. So I'm thrilled to hear about this thing you got, because I've never heard, all the years I've been doing this, never heard of anybody with this kind of functionality.
Exactly, because right now, as you mentioned, even if you can bring all of your lists, which, as you mentioned, is not always guaranteed, even if you can bring it with you, there's a ton of work, a ton of headache and heartache, and you're not even guaranteed that the results will be better. And if they aren't, or if they're only marginally better and you want to try it again, you have to start the whole process over, and it's extremely painful. And even then, you're basically trading, yellow for blue, right? Like it's sort of a different shade of the same sort of thing, because what is effectively happening on most email providers is they have a small number of IP addresses that all of their customers send from. So what that means is that even if you do everything right as a business owner, you take care of your list, you send them good content, you don't spam them, you're not buying leads, you're doing everything right. If somebody else that's a customer of that same platform does something naughty,
yeah, of course,
that can affect your ability to reach your customers, even though you did nothing wrong.
That will absolutely affect it, not just can, because if you're on that same IP address from that server bank, you're screwed, basically.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So what we've done by separating the automation brain side of things from the sort of wholesale, systems that can just sort of send email when you tell them to, which is what our platform does. It tells these systems to send the right email at the right time. That means that literally in a couple clicks, and even you can set up a split test, you can send a broadcast. You can say provider A versus provider B, whichever one has the most clicks after 2 hours, send all remaining emails to the winner. It's literally that simple, and you're always in control, and you never have to rewrite an email, redo delay timers, all your business logic, all your forms, your shopping cart integrations, all of that stays the same. So you take all of the pain, all of the expense, and all of the headache out of the process of improving your deliverability.
Well,
And that was
you must have taken up magic or something. How did you make this happen with all these different providers and get them to agree to it? That's why.
Well, there's actually a lot of companies out there that just want to send email. They don't want to necessarily do all the business logic, because sending email is hard, building the business logic is hard. And so what you find is people are only good at one or the other. And so we're not even pretending to try to be good at the email sending part. Instead, we're partnering with what in some cases is actually what's powering the back end of some of these other services. And instead of marking up the price along the way, we're allowing you to pay wholesale. So think of it like this. Our system is like the iPhone, and all these other services are like the carriers. But imagine if you could only use the carrier that gave you the best service at the cheapest price at all times.
Wow, would that be nice? Yeah. Figure that out. Yeah, too, while you're at it.
Yeah. So that was solving the deliverability problem. The second part is it was too slow, even for experienced marketers, to get a great campaign up and running. And so some different platforms have messed with the idea of like being able to have like sort of starter campaigns, but they're usually really vanilla and really basic, right? It's like, oh, here's, a standard send an email, wait a day, send an email, wait a day kind of thing, right? What we did is we built a really awesome campaign library that has proven campaigns with proven swipe copy and proven structure that literally in one click, it copies everything over. It creates the tags, it adds in the email copy, forms, all the automation logic is there, so that all you then have to do as a user have to do is edit what the emails say and replace the links. That's it.
Boy,
And
this is crazy, amazing. I mean, I've been around a long time. I never heard anything like this. It seems like an enterprise kind of thing where it would be $50,000 a month to have this. I mean,
but it's not. We actually made it super affordable, and because we allow you to pay for your email volume separately, which is really cheap. I mean, you look at some of our providers; it's like 10 cents per 1,000 emails sent. I mean, it's really, really inexpensive.
wow.
And by separating that, we're able to actually charge a flat rate for our tool with unlimited contacts of just $97 a month. So
Yeah,
it
see,
really
I've been
blows everything up.
I've been really I've been really stressing over this actually over the past year, because I mean I made fortunes on email, and then I started checking open and delivery rates, and I'm thinking, wow, man, I've been asleep at the wheel a little bit. Things are going downhill. So I've been actively looking for ways to improve this, but it's like you said, it's such a hassle. And I even sent a list through a cleaning service and went from 38,000 down to 8,000 on one list, So I thought, man, so this is really some kind of innovation here, right there. You get some awards for this from somebody?
Well, I've been working on it behind the scenes for about 3 years. Then we launched towards the end of last year in beta, and then about a month or so ago we came out of beta. So we're still pretty fresh on the scene, but we even have some of our customers are sending upwards of 10 to 12 million emails a week already on our tool. But I just want to touch on the third pillars, right? So we have deliverability, then we have this campaign library concept, which speeds up the ability to use that deliverability, right? And then the third pillar is conversion tools, because if you look at a lot of the existing platforms, to make them really set up and sing and do what they need, right? You need all these other add-on tools for countdown timers or
Right.
link management, right? And so those are the kind of things that really work best when they can be baked right into your automation layer. And so it was an important component from our perspective to make all of these things work in concert. And so, we have this idea of like campaign links as an example. And with campaign links, you can essentially deploy evergreen flash sales. You can manage evergreen webinars effectively, where you can show people certain content, force redirect them when a timer ends. You can basically add and remove their access, no matter if they went to an old email, if they forward the link or whatever. All of the access to content offers and bonuses are tied to where they are in their customer journey, even if they share the link. So we're not talking about a basic level, sort of they got cookied, right? Like you look at a lot of these other countdown timers, they're based on a session on
Right.
one device, on one browser. And if you go outside of that, things get wonky fast.
Right.
Ours is actually tied to the contact record inside of Campaign Refinery, so that we always have a sanity check, and it doesn't matter what device, what browser, what computer, if they share the link, whatever, it always is authentic to where they are in your overall customer and prospect pipeline.
Folks, I don't think the average listener realizes how revolutionary what I'm hearing right now. I really don't, because like I said, I have never heard anything like this, and this is all I do day and night for the past 25 years, right? So this is really something. You ought to get some kind of award for this too. So,
well, we're looking into patents for several of our items because we're really truly breaking a lot of new ground on this, and by not trying to build a shopping cart and not trying to build a landing page provider, it allows each business to think about their specific needs, right? We're not trying to build a membership tool. We're integrating with the best-in-class tools out there, and we already integrate, either natively or through Zapier or whatever. There's support for thousands of these tools already, even in this early stage. And so you can use the shopping cart that suits your business model best, right? Because if you're e-commerce or you sell info products, your needs of a shopping cart are a little different. If you, want to build a membership area, your needs may be different, right? If you want to do all these different things, you can pick and choose the best tools, right? So you're not getting some vanilla thing that you're paying for kind of by accident because it's an all-in-one software. You can go out and elect to use the tool that fits the way your brain works, the way your business works best. And if you sum it all up, you'll actually be paying about the same, if not less, than a lot of the all-in-one tools, but you'll be getting the best in class across the board as opposed to a pretty mediocre experience.
Folks, it's really good we had Travis on now, because somebody's going to give him $50 million for this one of these days, and then we'll never hear from him again. So this is really great. So we got to take a sponsor break, and when we come back, we're going to ask Travis if there's anything crazy's happened in his business, and what a typical day looks like for him, and how he stays motivated. So, folks, do you know what colleges and universities are doing? Well, according to gradeinflation.com, they're raising grade point averages to make it look like they're doing a better job of teaching when there's a mountain of evidence that says they aren't. So I really want you to watch the eye-opening higher education webinar at screwthecommute.com/webinars to potentially save yourself and possibly your loved ones, friends, and neighbors hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt when you go for higher education. And this isn't just me talking, trying to sell my school, which I do want to sell to you because it's made a fortune for me, and that's at imtcva.org. But this webinar is all these big shot authors in the education community telling you how screwed up things are and how you're just blowing your money, and how the kids are spending 8 hours a week only total in class and preparing for class. The rest of the time's eating and partying. So I'm not sure I'd want to mortgage my house for that. But anyway, in my school, Internet Marketing Training Center, Virginia, you can get a lifestyle business in as little as 6 months and do the kind of things that Travis is talking about and I'm talking about. So check it out at imtcva.org, and also check out the screwthecommute.com/webinars. All right, let's get back to Travis, the Mr. Revolutionary, I'm going to call him now. And anything crazy ever happened? You've been working for yourself for a long time, right?
Yeah, well, I've been working for myself since July 1st, 2011, which actually that in and of itself is kind of a funny story, because I had just been dating my now wife for a couple months, and her dad, the doctor, was like, "How's this going to affect your CV?" The whole family's come around, but I can understand at the time. He's like, "You've only been dating my daughter for 2 months, you deadbeat. What are you doing? Quitting your job." But one of the kind of funny things that I think sort of highlights the world we live in today for entrepreneurs, because, for instance, our team is completely distributed, right? So my people that work for me, they're in the UK, they're in Australia, they're in Eastern Europe. They're all over the place. And so a lot of times I've either never met them or it's been years since I've seen them in person. And so the sort of personal anecdote, it wasn't an employee, but I live up in the Pacific Northwest in the Seattle area, and we actually have the largest ferry system in the world because there's all kinds of islands out here. And a couple summers ago, I had some family in town. They wanted to go to a place called Friday Harbor, which is sort of this bustling town on San Juan Island where a lot of movie stars and stuff have sort of second homes or whatever. And so we just going to go over there for the day. And so we walk on the ferry and we get there and we're roaming around. And it's like, hey, what are we going to do? Let's go get lunch at some fish and chips place, eight blocks or so from the ferry. And so we're up there on Friday Harbor, which is a couple hours away from my house. And we're sitting there having lunch and I get a text and it's a friend of a friend who I've played like Xbox with a couple times, who's never seen a photo of me, but we had each other's phone numbers. And he texted me, said, "Are you at so-and-so Fish and Chips in Friday Harbor?" I'm like, yeah, that's creepy.
Yeah, really.
And it turns out I've got apparently sort of a recognizable voice, and he just heard me laughing at the table or whatever and was like, "I'm pretty sure Travis is here." He'd never seen me, never met me in person before, but recognized my voice across a little fish and chips place. So, it sort of adds to the serendipity about you never know who you're going to see where.
Yeah.
And it really, says about 2019 or whatever now that it's possible to have complete meaningful relationships with people that you may never meet or that you may rarely meet. And so I think that's kind of a quirky little example.
Yeah. That's for sure. Okay. So that was a special day where you were out with the folks, but so what's a typical day look like for you?
Yeah. So for me, I used to sleep in a little bit more, but since we got a year and a half old black lab a few months ago, I kind of feel like she's training us more than we're training her.
Right.
I get up in the morning. Usually I check to see if there's any kind of urgent things on the list from the team or, from customers that have been escalated. And if there is, then I deal with them. And if there's not, then I'll get a little bit of breakfast. Try to get a workout.
Yourself in the house though, or with your wife and dog.
Yeah. So I work from home.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, I have a dedicated office space in the home, but I don't have an exterior office.
Right.
I have an exterior mailing address, but I don't have an exterior office. So I'm able to work from home all the time. We have a nice big backyard that makes for kind of a comfortable place to hang out. But I always make sure that in the day I get in some kind of exercise, whether that's, a 3 to 6 mile walk or it's, a 20 to 60 minute bike ride on the Peloton inside, depending on time, to get an exercise in, kind of get my juices going, get some endorphin release. And then I get back to work in waves. And I'm of the opinion that if I'm being productive, then I can stay and work. And I stay and work as long as I feel productive. But as I start to feel my productivity fall off, there's no sense wasting time in front of the computer if I'm not being productive. Because the beautiful thing about working for yourself and working from home is that your unit of measurement is productivity, not time in a seat in front of a screen.
That's right.
And so as long as I'm being productive, then I'll be productive. And then my wife now has a different schedule as a nurse. So whenever she comes home is usually kind of when I check out for the day. We make dinner, relax, maybe watch something on Netflix, maybe go for an additional walk or, have a barbecue or fire out in the backyard and then kind of wind down for the day. But I try to make that more or less a consistent experience with the exception of when we want to travel somewhere, but that's kind of an average day for me.
So so how many people do you have working around the world?
It fluctuates, so I can't really give you a hard number because all of the people that work for me are on a contract basis.
Right, of course.
And so what that means is that, we look at our challenges in the future. So, this month, if I really need someone who's really good at JavaScript, I'll go, I use TopTal a lot of times to source.
Which is that? How do you spell that?
Yeah, TopTal. So TOPTAL is short for top talent.
Mm-hmm.
They tend to be expensive, but they get really good people and they have a really flexible contract terms. So, I can pick and choose based on the needs in the next, 30, 60, 90 days and pick up people that have a skill set that we need.
Now, do you have the ability to evaluate their work? Not on does it do what it's supposed to, but you can make things do what they're supposed to, but the code is really a mess, just crazy. or it can be nice and clean and somebody else could work on it. Do you have that ability to evaluate that?
So I'm not personally a developer, but I have two pieces in place that help with that. One is TopTal does their own rigorous code reviews and code testing
Oh,
before
nice.
anyone even gets into the pool. So that is a huge hurdle that
Yeah,
cuts out a lot of those problems.
exactly, because there's tons of places you could get a programmer, but you have no idea what behind the scenes looks like. It could be all shiny on the surface and be a total nightmare underneath. So that's really a great feature.
Yeah, I mean, you pay a premium for that, but I've had to learn this lesson several times the hard way, which
Right.
is looking at an hourly rate of somebody is not a good way to evaluate what the true cost of a feature will
Mhm.
be. Oftentimes, I find that the lower the hourly rate, ironically, the more expensive it's going to be for me to successfully deploy a feature that works for customers. Be that, if it's way too low, not only is the development time way longer because even at, let's say $10 an hour versus $100 an hour, they'll actually spend more than 10 times the amount of time to build the feature in the first place than the $100 an hour guy.
Right.
And secondly, once they do ship the feature, it's going to have so many bugs and so many issues that not only is it going to cause heartache and headache in your customers, which can increase churn, but the raw number of hours you have to pay for them to fix all the things that weren't fixed in the first place. So I would almost every time pick the way more expensive person who gets it done in way less time and it's done right the first time. But the second kind of piece that we have in there to assure code quality is I do have a couple consistent longtime developers that when we do bring someone new into the fold that's going to be with us for at least a little while, uh, all of their code gets checked in and reviewed
Hmm.
by that person before it can ever get deployed. So we avoid the churn aspect of things.
Yeah, churn means folks that people bagging out on you, leaving because of
Yeah,
whatever.
because they're
Right.
frustrated because
Yeah.
things don't work. We don't want to be Infusionsoft, right? We want to, and we're not perfect, but we do our best to do as much quality assurance as we can. Which sometimes we actually have a quality assurance person that's running through and testing features to save time. But no code goes out until it's tested and reviewed, and then integrated into the way that we do things. So it's a way to sort of clean things up along the process and try to ensure a consistent, smooth path moving forward. Like I said, you're never perfect, but those two things, as well as a QA person, really help us get to where we're going most of the time.
All right, so working out of your home with the only thing to hang around with you is the dog. How do you stay motivated? How do you get your motivation up?
Motivation has never really been a problem for me because even as a
Me
as a
neither.
kid,
Yeah.
yeah, I I always wanted to do things. I have trouble sitting around for too long. I was going out washing cars, delivering papers,
Mhm.
buying soda at the grocery store and reselling it for a markup in the ferry line. I mean, I was always doing something, and so that combined with the fact that the work that we're doing with Campaign Refinery really truly is breaking a lot of
It
new
is.
ground,
Yeah.
and the whole marketing automation space as a whole has really been kind of a laggard in a lot of ways and just sort of twiddling their thumbs. And when we surveyed the over 20,000 Contest Domination customers, we found that everyone had an email tool, and pretty universally, nobody liked what they used. And so that alone is enough to get me up and excited. And then when we launch things like the ability to deploy flash sales on demand, evergreen, and we get the response from customers saying, "It's like, wow, this totally blew my mind." That gives me motivation for the next round of features, and it sort of feeds on itself moving forward.
Awesome. That's really great. So how do they get a hold of you and check all this stuff out?
Yeah, so obviously the two tools that we mentioned is contestdomination.com and then campaignrefinery.com. If they want to reach out to me specifically, they can email me, which is travis@campaignrefinery.com. And I'm on all the normal social channels. My preference probably being Twitter, actually. So just at Travis Ketchum. And I'd be happy to field any questions anyone might have.
Yes. Spell your name for them.
Yeah, so first name is Travis, Travis. And my last name is Ketchum, Ketchum.
And I've known this guy a long time, folks, and never heard one bad thing ever about him or his services or his software, all this stuff. So you can be sure he'll take care of you. And The only thing I would like when all these kinds of services, just to put the bug in your ear, is big training PDFs that have tons of examples of what other people are doing. Because a lot of times people get something this sophisticated and they say, okay, well, now I don't know what to do with it, with my stuff. So seeing examples still to this day for me gets me fired up and gets me using the stuff more, because I can emulate what somebody else does just with my info. So that's my 2 cents worth.
Well, we definitely are working on something like that that's not quite ready for release, but it's called the Marketing Automation Bootcamp.
Perfect.
And so it'll show you examples and real world tutorials and all these different scenarios. So I think that will definitely scratch that itch for you.
There you go. All right. So thanks so much, Travis, for coming on. We really appreciate it. Make sure everybody checks out your stuff in the show notes. And next episode is 127. I'll give you paid traffic tips. It's how to drive immediately targeted traffic without losing your shirt. And how do I know? Well, one time I made a ad on a Friday and got too busy to check it. And Monday I owed Google $8,000. So trust me, folks, I know you do not want to lose your shirt on this paid traffic. But we kind of gave up on search engine optimization several years ago. It's just too much trouble. So we're going to go into paid ads and help you with that on our Monday trainings. Our Mondays are trainings and things that have made me or saved me a fortune. And on Wednesdays and Fridays, we have great people like Travis on to give you their tips. So we will catch you all on the next episode. See you later.